All right, this is Epictetus, The Complete Works, Part 23. All right, then, let's review our findings. An unimpeded person is free and finds things at hand as he wants them. However, anyone who can be impeded, constrained, or obstructed, or who can be thrown into a situation against his wishes, is a slave. What makes a person unimpeded? If he wants nothing that isn't his, what isn't ours? Anything that isn't up to us. It's not up to us whether or not we have it. And if we have it, it's not up to us what it's like or how we come by it. So the body isn't ours. Body parts aren't ours. And possessions aren't ours. If you become attached to any of these things, then as it were your own, you'll receive the punishment that a person deserves for wanting something that isn't his. The road that leads to freedom and the only way to be delivered from slavery is for someone to be able to say, with all their heart, "Lead me, Zeus, both you and destiny, wheresoever you have ordained for me." Diogenes was free. How did that come about? It wasn't due to the fact his parents were free, because they weren't. It was because he himself was free, and that he had rejected everything that might allow slavery to get a grip on him. Plus the fact that there was no way to get at him, and no way that he could be seized for enslavement. Everything he had was disposable. Everything was just an appendage. If you seized some possession of his, he let it go rather than he pulled along behind it. If you grabbed his leg, he let that go. If you seized his whole body, he let that go. And likewise, his family, friends, and country. He knew how to come to have these things, who gave them to him, and on what conditions he was given them. Because I don't consider my body to be mine, because I need nothing, because the law is everything to me, and everything else is nothing. This is what made it possible for him to be free. Study these things, these notions, these arguments, and look to the examples of Diogenes and Socrates if you want to be free. If you long for it as much as it deserves, it's hardly surprising, is it, if such a major undertaking demands so much from you in payment. For the sake of conventional freedom, people have hanged themselves and hurled themselves off cliffs, and sometimes whole cities have been utterly destroyed. For the sake of true freedom, which is immune to intrigue and safe from harm, won't you give up what God has given you when he asks back for it? Won't you prepare yourself by training, not just, as Plato says, for death, but for being tortured, exiled, and whipped? In short, won't you train yourself to give back things that aren't yours? Otherwise, you'll be a slave among slaves, and it will make no difference, even if you're a council countless times, even if you rise as far as the palace. And you'll come to see that, as Cleanthes said, philosophical ideas may conflict with your opinion, but they don't conflict with reason. Your experience will teach you that these ideas are true, and that it does people no good to get the things they value and think important. Meanwhile, those who haven't yet got them imagine that everything good will be theirs once they have them. And then, when they've got them, they're no lessening of their fever, but the same old tossing and turning, the same agitation, the same longing for what they don't have. For freedom is a product of the satisfaction of craving, but of its... for freedom isn't a product of the satisfaction of craving, but of its suppression. The point is that if it's better to be self-respecting person and to be moderate in your behavior than to have people say to you, "What a nice guy," you have to let go of everything else. Give it up. Turn away from it. It's no business of yours. But if that isn't to your taste, turn your whole being in the opposite direction. Become a sexual deviant. Become an adulterer. All you have to do is act accordingly and you'll get what you want. Leap to your feet and loudly acclaim the dancer. But roles that differ So greatly don't mix. You can't play the part of both. There's two different names that are being mentioned. I don't even know how to pronounce those. If you want to be those names, you must be humpbacked and bald. If you choose to be that name, you must be tall, handsome, and devoted to your subjects. It doesn't take much to spoil and ruin everything, just a slight deviation from reason. It doesn't take as much aptitude for a helmsman to capsize his ship as it does for him to keep it safe. All he needs to do is turn a little into the wind and he's undone. Even if he doesn't do so deliberately, but through a lapse of attention, he's undone. The same goes here too. You only have to nod off for a moment and everything you've gathered up until then vanishes. So pay attention to your impressions and keep a close watch on them. It's nothing trivial that you've been protected by your self-respect, trustworthiness, equanimity, self-possession, immunity to distress, immunity to fear, serenity, in one word, your freedom. What are you going to sell these qualities for? How much do you think they are worth? Protect your good always, and as for everything else, be content with what's been allotted to you, as long as you make rational use of it and don't ask for anything more. Otherwise, you'll be miserable and wretched, impeded and obstructed. These are the laws that have been relayed to us from above. These are God's commandments. You must become an interpreter of these laws and obedient to them, rather than those of Mesurius and Cassius. This next part's going to be a little longer. Remember that it isn't just for longing for political power and wealth that subjugates a person and makes him subservient to others, but also the desire for quiet, leisure, travel, and learning. To put it simply, whatever the external thing may be, if you value it, it makes you subservient to others. Is there any difference then between longing to be a senator and longing not to be a senator? Between craving political power and craving not to have political power? Is there any difference between saying, it upsets me that I can't do a thing because I'm tired to my books like a corpse? I'm tied to my books like a corpse, and it upsets me that I have no time for reading. The point is that a book, no less than salutations and public offices, belongs to the class of things that are external to us and aren't subject to will. Why do you want to read? Tell me. If you take up a book in order to be entertained or to learn some point of theory, your reading is pointless and you're not making the most of yourself. But if you're reading for the right purpose, well, what can this be except contentment? And if your reading doesn't bring you contentment, what's good for it? What's the good of it?